Today, we're going to talk about something you probably don't think about much, but it's absolutely critical. We're talking about marine cooling. It's this nonstop fight against heat happening in one of the most brutal environments imaginable. And it's what makes everything from a comfy cabin to our entire global supply chain even possible.
You know that feeling, right? A perfect day on the water. Looks so simple, so peaceful, but just below your feet, there's this whole other world of complex systems working like crazy to keep everything running. And one of the biggest fights down there? It's the battle against heat.
And that's really the heart of the problem, isn't it? I mean, you can't just slap a window AC unit on a boat. We're talking about a platform that's constantly moving, vibrating, all while sitting in salt water, which, as you know, just loves to eat away at metal. So how in the world do they pull it off?
Okay, so before we get to the cool solutions, pun intended, we really have to get our heads around just how tough this challenge is. The ocean does not play nice. It throws a whole bunch of unique problems at the engineers.
Think about it. These systems are fighting a war on like 4 different fronts at once. You've got the constant pitching and rolling of the ship. You've got insane vibration from the engines and just the waves themselves. Then there's the big one, salt water, just constantly trying to corrode everything. And on top of all that, these things have to be bulletproof. I mean, you can't exactly pull over to the shoulder in the middle of the Atlantic and call for a tow, right?
But here's the crazy part. For all that complexity, the basic idea is super simple. It's just about moving heat. That's it. You take the heat from where you don't want it, like a hot cabin or a massive engine, and you dump it where it doesn't matter. And what's the biggest, most convenient place to dump heat at sea? Well, the ocean itself. It's like the world's biggest heat sink. All right, let's zoom in a bit and make this personal. Picture yourself on a smaller boat. It's a sweltering hot day. How do you stop that cabin from turning into a total sauna? Well, that's where marine air conditioning steps in.
So, most of these systems on personal boats use something called a direct expansion, or DX system. The best way to think of it is like a little heat-passing relay race. First, warm air from your cabin gets blown over some super cold coils. The heat jumps from the air to a refrigerant inside those coils. That's the first handoff. Then that refrigerant, which is now hot, gets pumped to a different spot. And for the final handoff, seawater gets pumped over those coils, grabs the heat, and carries it right out of the boat. It's a really neat little cycle, super effective.
Now, for boats up to, say, 40 feet, you're usually looking at 2 main flavors of these systems. The first is called a self-contained unit. It's exactly what it sounds like. Everything's packed into one single box. They're cheaper, easier to install, the whole deal. The other option is a split gas system. Here, they take the noisiest part, the compressor, and stick it down in the engine room, away from you. The result? A much, much quieter cabin. So really, the choice is pretty simple. Are you optimizing for cost or for quiet?
Okay, so cooling a 40-foot boat, that's one thing. But what happens when we're talking about a massive container ship or a fishing trawler the size of a building? Suddenly, the scale of the problem just explodes. The challenge gets exponentially bigger, and the engineering has to be on a whole other level.
And there's this one quote from the engineering handbooks that just says it all. It's the core philosophy. Keep it simple, but never, ever sacrifice reliability. Because when you're dealing with this much complexity and the stakes are this high, the last thing you want is a system that's too clever for its own good. An overly complicated system is just a system waiting to fail, and failure is not an option out there.
And this right here, this shows you just how bonkers the design requirements are. These things have to work flawlessly while the ship is rolling more than 22 degrees side to side. Can you imagine? Every single part has to be bolted down to withstand this constant punishing vibration. They even have to orient the machinery shafts in a specific way just to fight against gyroscopic forces. And to battle the corrosion, they use these exotic materials like cupronickel, which is basically kryptonite for saltwater.
And let's be clear, we're way past just being comfortable here. This is the lifeblood of global commerce. These super robust systems are the reason a fishing trawler can stay out at sea for months at a time. They're the reason the banana you bought at the store, grown thousands of miles away, is still perfect. It's this hidden network that is absolutely essential to the way our world works.
So, we've got these incredible systems, right? Engineered to survive anything the ocean can throw at them. But what if the biggest enemy isn't the storm outside? What if the real threat is coming from inside the system itself?
Yeah, this is the one problem that every single one of these systems faces. See, seawater isn't just water, it's full of minerals and little bits of life. And as it flows through the pipes, it leaves stuff behind. Calcium, tiny barnacles, all sorts of gunk. And over time, that buildup acts just like cholesterol in an artery.
It starts to choke off the flow, and even worse, it insulates the pipes, which completely defeats the whole purpose of transferring heat.
And what's really wild is how little it takes to cause a problem. We're talking about a layer of scale just 1/64th of an inch thick. That's thinner than a credit card. That tiny little layer is enough to slash your cooling performance, which means your fuel economy gets worse, your engine loses horsepower, and this is all happening long before you'd ever get an overheating alarm.
So, you've got this problem that's basically guaranteed to happen on every single boat. It just creeps up on you. So how do you deal with it? Well, it's not about a single magic bullet. It's about a smart, continuous cycle of maintenance.
And that cycle is really just common sense. Step 1 is just admitting you have a problem, right? Recognizing that your system is going to get gunked up. Step 2 is doing something about it. You regularly flush the system with a special descaler that's designed to dissolve all that buildup without damaging the pipes or anything else. And step 3 is the payoff. Your system is back to working like new, and you've dodged a major overheating bullet.
And you can really see the difference. I mean, look at this. On the left, you've got a pipe that's just completely choked with buildup. It's barely able to function. But then look at the right. After a proper flush, it's like brand new. The passages are wide open, the metal is clean, it's ready to transfer heat efficiently again. That is what good maintenance looks like.
So at the end of the day, you have to see this maintenance as more than just a chore. It's really an investment. It's what makes sure your cooling system is actually going to work when you're way out at sea. It protects your very expensive equipment from getting ruined. And honestly, it's a super cheap insurance policy against a total system failure, which could cost a fortune to fix. It's just smart. So that's really the whole picture, isn't it? Keeping cool at sea is this amazing cycle. It starts with incredibly smart, tough-as-nails engineering. But it only works because of simple, consistent upkeep that fights that slow, creeping threat from the inside. You absolutely cannot have one without the other.
It's just such a cool intersection of all these different sciences, all this engineering, all happening completely out of sight. So the next time you're on a boat and you enjoy a cold drink, or just feel that nice cool air, maybe you'll think for a second about all the hidden systems fighting a constant battle just to make that moment possible.